Irish guy, I'm pretty simple. I'm going to predict the next player every Premier League club is going to sell. Right, let's go. Arsenal, Emile Smith-Rowe to West Ham. I'd imagine if somebody told Emile Smith-Rowe that Arsenal were now preparing to sell him, he'd probably feel like a puppy who's just been told by his owner that he's going to feed him to a bear at the zoo. Smith-Rowe was supposed to be the Gunners' mini Zidane, someone who's been with the club since he was 10. He's had 2 loan spells away to RB Leipzig and Huddersfield, which is a strange contrast. One is a small, unassuming German village, probably filled with whimsical culture. The other is a northern country English town where most of the inhabitants probably do just poo in a public street before wiping their bum on the McDonald's menu. I remember the Gunners turning in a monster £30 million bid from Aston Villa 3 years ago, but now he turns 24 years old in July. He ain't really the future anymore. It feels like he's still on the fringes of the starting 11. Compare that to Jack Wilshere. When he was 24, he was already winding down his Gunners career. He was joining Bournemouth on loan at 24, which is mental. It felt like he was about 32. I don't think Arsenal will sell to anyone this month. But yeah, first deal of the summer. Smith-Rowe will be sold to West Ham for about £20 million. Aston Villa, John Duran to Chelsea. I remember the January transfer window of 2018 when Chelsea decided to focus on buying a joke centre forward. They were heavily linked to Ashley Barnes, Andy Carroll and Peter Crouch, which was so hilariously bizarre. Barnes was a Burnley meathead who Jose Mourinho, when he was Chelsea boss, once said he should have gone to prison for a horrible tackle on Matic. Carroll was a terribly stupid £35 million lump who Chelsea forced Liverpool to replace Torres with, while Crouchy was a semi-retired head on a stick who was spending most weeks down the pub doing podcasts with that bloke who nervously interviewed Mila Kunis once. Chelsea having a strange striker shopping list was a 2018 thing. A one-off, right? But no. Right now, they're heavily breathing down the neck of Colombian striker John Duran. And if I were him, I'd be scared. I'm not saying this is completely like seeing that creepy ice cream van driver staring at your 9-year-old nephew as if he's a sausage pie, but Duran is a talented centre forward who is struggling for game time at Aston Villa. So, tying yourself into an 8-year contract at Chelsea would not be clever. I don't know if this is Todd Bowley's way of trying to clone Tammy Abraham, but lads, he's going to cost what, £40 million? While with Duran and Jackson, that will be a rough £80 million spent on 2 centre forwards who have not even scored a combined 1 goal at international level. I mean, Robbie Keane scored nearly 70 international goals, and Chelsea didn't sniff at him once. But yeah, I think this deal will happen on a very crazy deadline day. Bournemouth, Tyler Adams to RB Leipzig. Saying that things have not worked out for Tyler Adams at Bournemouth is an understatement. Clearly, he's got the worst hamstring issue in the world because he hasn't even made his Cherries debut. He is 6 months into a 5-year deal. So me tipping Bournemouth already cashed in on the USA captain is bold. But let's be real, he hasn't pulled up any trees in England yet. Don't forget, he was relegated at Leeds last season. If he comes back from injury and looks poor, then I can see Andoni Iraola losing patience. And yeah, just chucking him off to RB Leipzig. Brentford, David Raya to Arsenal. Okay, as of now, David Raya is officially just on loan at Arsenal, which, yeah, on the face of it, with zero context, looks very strange for Brentford to just let Arsenal borrow their actual #1 goalkeeper. It would be a bit like me letting Fogden borrow my liver for a vlog.
No, I need that to live.
But no, the deal has already been agreed for Raya to permanently join Arsenal in the summer for £27 million. So unless the Spaniard gets hit by a bus tomorrow after being pushed in front of him by Aaron Ramsdale, then yeah, this one is going through in June. Brighton, Benicio Baker-Botty to Barcelona. Yeah, why not? Something random and weird like this. Brighton youngster Benicio Baker-Botty, 20 years old, only recently made his debut, but he's already been through the academies of West Ham and Porto. He had the opportunity to join Bayern Munich once. He is a very highly rated young winger. So yeah, why not? And you look Barcelona weirdly poaching him in June. That's my guess. Burnley, Luka Kolyosho, West Ham. Okay, look, Burnley are going down this season. So no, I don't think they're going to be selling anyone this week. That would be crazy. But in the summer, I think if one player has impressed enough to get himself a switch, it's Luka Kolyosho. To someone like West Ham. I mean, he's looked pretty dangerous, direct, good going forward. He's a talented little winger. And yeah, just like how West Ham snapped up Maxwell Cornet from a relegated Burnley last time, this year, it'll be Kolyosho for about £12 million. Chelsea, Armando Broja to Fulham. Armando Broja might just be the most disappointing player in the Premier League this season, because back when he was on loan at Southampton 2 years ago, he had electric hype. A huge monster centre forward who, yeah, only scored 6 league goals, but everyone loved him, right? And I mean, if this was Chelsea 10 years ago, a raw academy striker like him would have never been given his chance at Stamford Bridge. I mean, they didn't even really give Lukaku a proper go. But now, I mean, since the start of last season, he's played 36 times for Chelsea and he has 2 Premier League goals. At 22 years old, this Albanian striker now looks about as dangerous as a tree. He reminds me a bit of Alexander Mitrovic between 2016 and 2018. Yes, big, imposing, threatening to look at, but largely absolutely useless in front of goal, but apparently he's still worth £50 million. What? I remember when Chelsea were paying that much money for Fernando Torres, a reigning world champion who was arguably the most lethal striker on the planet. Broja is just 2011's version of Stephen Fletcher. Just blah. I don't think he'll go for 50, but yeah. First deal of the summer, he'll be sold to Fulham for about £35 million. Crystal Palace, Michael Olise to Man United. Surely, when Michael Olise blew off interest in Chelsea and Man City in the summer to commit to a huge new 4-year deal at Crystal Palace, things looked fishy. Just what? It's like somebody rejecting the opportunity to drive a Ferrari for a month to instead just commute to work, sharing a unicycle with overweight Margaret from accounts. What was so appealing to Olise and his agent about being a Palace player until Roy Hodgson's 80th birthday, who by all rights, could well still be in charge, getting his own players' names during team talks and choking on lumpy porridge on the team bus? Olise has a new release clause, the most obvious release clause ever put in a contract. Of course he had one. It's a bit like marrying Jabba the Hutt and agreeing to sever things the moment you get repulsed looking at him. Apparently Manchester United are major admirers of Olise, and they signed Wilfred Zaha from Crystal Palace before doing their level best to try and scrunch his career into a paper airplane and fly it into a muddy bog. So yeah, same thing here. £50 million deal. Everton Armando Juma to Lyon. Yeah, I think this will be a deadline day departure. It's kind of incredible how much Armando Juma has duped us all. This is a Dutch winger who, in and around lockdown, was seen as a superstar. He scored 15 goals in a championship season for Bournemouth, earned a switch to Villarreal, where he slammed in 16 goals in his debut season, and it was immediately linked with a mega move to Liverpool. This man actually scored a hat-trick in a La Liga match. He banged in 6 Champions League strikes in his debut season. That doesn't make sense, because in the Premier League, he has been consistently horrible. 0 goals in 14 games for Bournemouth, 1 goal in 9 for Tottenham, 1 goal in 10 for Everton. What's all the fuss about? Playing football in England is clearly not for him. I know he's got some levels of talent, but for some reason, he's consistently dreadful in front of the match of the day cameras, and I know he's only on loan at Everton, so this won't register as a sale, but I think they're going to agree to cut short his season-long loan this week, and he'll get that switch to Lyon. This is someone who a year ago turned down Everton because they were in a relegation scrap, so have fun battling survival in France or not. Fulham, Adama Traore to Al Ettifaq. This might seem random, but I have a feeling that Adama Traore's time at Fulham is going to be a completely forgotten one. A bit like how nobody remembers this guy was ever in the same Aston Villa team as Jack Grealish. That one season at Villa Park, nobody remembers he was there. Probably because back then he was still relatively skinny, as opposed to now. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy eats an entire sheep for lunch. But yeah, he has had a horrible luck with injury. He's only played 40 minutes of Premier League football this season. This is somebody who had 2 spells at Barcelona. He spent a combined 13 years of his life at the new camp. He made his professional debut replacing Neymar on the pitch. I would imagine that the Spain international winger has the ego of a teenage pop star. So yeah, I actually think he'll be off for a mercenary megabucks move to somewhere like the Saudi Pro League. Yeah, go on. Stevie G's next signing. They don't have to pay Jordan Henderson anymore, so they gotta have some free cash behind the couch. Liverpool, Nat Phillips to Stoke City. Surely Nat Phillips is getting sold, and very soon. This was Liverpool's lockdown saviour. Their grubby, unfashionable beanbowl centre-back who stepped in for Virgil van Dijk and did pretty well, but he's not a good player, clearly. He's since failed on loan at Bournemouth and Celtic. He's got 2 years left on his Liverpool deal. Come on, he turns 27 years old in March. Didn't it feel like he was just a raw kid brimming with potential only 5 minutes ago? No, in reality, he's just a modern-day David Wheater. Anyone know who he is? Exactly. He's about as relevant to this conversation as Barney the dinosaur. He was just a meaty English centre-back who burned brightly for a year at Middlesbrough, was linked with Liverpool and Arsenal. He was supposed to be the original Gary Cahill. Now, he sadly remained about as average as any of the new Star Wars films, so yeah, I reckon a deadline day, £6 million move to Stoke. Luton Town, Jordan Clark to Blackburn Rovers. Yeah, here we have Jordan Clark, a 30-year-old winger. Yeah, why not? Sell him to Blackburn or someone for £2 million. He's got 5 goals in over 100 league games for Luton. How is that Premier League material? Lads, in my Sunday League football, I actually play with someone called Jordan Clark. Last season, he won the Golden Boot with 30 goals. He's probably a better Jordan Clark than this bang average one. Man City, Jack Grealish, Aston Villa. Man City have a very small squad, which is strange, but it's true. There's not really any deadwood they need to shave off. Yes, Callum Phillips has just joined West Ham on loan and will probably be sold in the summer, but I reckon Jack Grealish is in for a shock move away. Let's be honest, for a £100 million attacker, his stats at Man City are more underwhelming than vegan popcorn. I remember tweeting out that Grealish was not even in the same league as peak Juan Mata. Well, Mata, in 135 games at Chelsea, had 33 goals and 57 assists. Oh, and yes, won the Champions League too. Grealish at City in a similar amount of games, 14 goals and 17 assists. And he's got a focal point in earning Haaland to assist too. Mata had an old Drogba, a rubbish Torres, and a raw Daniel Sturridge. 3 years is long enough for Grealish. And yeah, I reckon this summer, he's going to tie up a £45 million move back to Aston Villa. And lads, especially if they're in the Champions League, he's probably going to want to go himself. Has he got the chance to play for his boyhood club in the actual Champions League? No chance. Oh, you'll have come a long way from getting punched in the face by some fat brummy. Man United, Amado Diallo to Wolves. I think this is a shock move that's going to happen this week. Lads, right now the chatter is all about Amado Diallo, the young Ivorian winger, potentially getting another loan spell away from Old Trafford. So to see him sold permanently would be a shock. I remember being baffled when Liverpool pulled the plug on Riya Brewster. After a great loan spell at Swansea, after playing for Liverpool in the Community Shield against Arsenal, I was shocked to see him just sold to Sheffield United. But similarly, I reckon the Premier League club is going to pounce for Diallo on deadline day. Someone like Wolves stamping him up for £20 million. People think he's the future of the club, but is he? He turns 22 years old in June. I mean, forget about Ronaldo or Rooney comparisons. Even the likes of Nani were a far more important player for Manchester United at 22 than Diallo. And he's grown up to have a very overall lukewarm career. We know that Eric Ten Hag is a big fan of discipline, and Diallo apparently just liked an Instagram post saying that Manchester United were a waste of his time after he didn't even play a minute against Newport County in the Cup. So, yeah, sorry lads, but Diallo, I reckon he's getting sold. Newcastle, Callum Wilson to Manchester United. Look, right now, Miggy Almiron looks like he's inching towards the move to Al-Shabaab in Saudi, but no, you know what? I reckon he will stay. What is worrying for Newcastle fans is all the talk surrounding Callum Wilson's exit. In the last week, they've already rejected a loan bid from Atletico Madrid. There's been interest from AC Milan, Chelsea, West Ham, and Manchester United. So why? Why so many clubs? I'll tell you why. Because his head has been turned. I am confident in that. Wilson is clearly sick of being a bench warmer. He's had to come off the bench over 20 times for Newcastle since Alexander Isak rocked up at the club. Apparently he was open to moving to Atletico. Really open. As well as a switch to Milan. The only reason he has so much Premier League interest right now is because I think his agent is trying to drum up a move, but I just think something wild is gonna happen on deadline day. This reminds me of when Andy Carroll had loads of interest in 2010. Yeah, Liverpool signed him, but don't forget, Tottenham had a huge bid turned down. Chelsea and Man City were heavily linked too, and then he went. Similar thing. I think Wilson is going to go somewhere crazy. He might well be United's version of Weghorst or a Gallo. Actually, no, that's a huge disrespect to Wilson. Nah, maybe their version of a Cavani. This is going to be a deadline day signing. Just you watch. Nottingham Forest, Joe Worrell to Sheffield United. Yeah, this is strange, but apparently Sheffield United are close to agreeing a permanent deal for Nottingham Forest centre-back and captain Joe Worrell, which would look strange. He is Forest born and bred, over 200 games under his belt for them. Is he really going to try and want to keep the Blades up when they're in a relegation battle with the club of his heart? But on the other hand, he doesn't play anymore. Nuno Santos was giving him just 1 minute of football on the pitch, so regular game time? Yeah, I reckon a £10 million move this week. Sheffield United, Daniel Jebison to QPR. Daniel Jebison is the wonder kid that never was. I remember this Canadian-born, England underage international forward scoring the winning goal against Everton in May 2021, becoming the youngest player to score in their first start in the Premier League. He was 17 years old and scoring after just 7 minutes. He then courted huge interest from Tottenham and Everton, but it's nearly 3 years later. He's failed on loan at Chorley and Burton Albion, can't get a kick for the Blades, is out of contract in the summer. I reckon Chris Wilder will cash in for about £1 million. Tottenham, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg to Napoli. It's mad how out of favour the media wants to tell you Pierre-Emile Højbjerg is at Spurs. They're trying to tell you he is so unwanted. Remember how he was on the verge of a move to Atletico Madrid in the summer? Back in mid-July, I thought the deal was done. You'd assume Ange Postecoglou did not fancy him, and will now just chuck the Danish midfielder in the Nadok for the rest of the season, right? No. This fella is featured in every single game since the second match of the season. Mostly off the bench, yes, but there has not been a match since the opening weekend where he has not ended up on the pitch. Clearly, Postecoglou does like him, but I do reckon he'll still be sold in the summer to somewhere like Napoli. Wow. I mean, they just signed Leandro to Dunker. West Ham, Saïd Benrahma to Marseille. Saïd Benrahma will go this week. Again, his time at West Ham has been a little disappointing. Back when he ripped the championship to shreds with Brentford, people were talking of this Algerian winger as being the second coming of Mahrez. Nope, David Moyes clearly doesn't fancy him all that much. He's 28 years old now, 1 assist, and no goals in 22 games a season. I reckon a deadline day move to Marseille. I mean, they already made a loan offer that was rejected, so yeah, maybe a £12 million move. Wolves, Pedro Neto to Ahli. Lads, did anybody know that Pedro Neto has played for Lazio? I assume this 23-year-old Portuguese winger was still waiting to join a huge European giant, but he already did that nearly 7 years ago and played 5 games. Even though Lazio fans probably forget he was there. But yeah, I reckon this summer, he finally moves on from Wolves after 5 years. And I'm going to say this. I reckon he's going to be like Ruben Neves and depressingly trade potential for cash. Actually, this is going to be even worse than Neves. It's going to be like Oscar, who quit Chelsea for China at 25 and was never heard from again. Neto at 24. I reckon he joins Ahli for £350,000 a week this summer, which is just depressing beyond belief. All that hype, all that build-up, and then just nothing. His storyline just ends at a damp squib. Honestly, he's going to be the Portuguese Jon Snow. Anyway, that's the end of the video. What do you think? Who do you think is going to be sold next? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like, share, and subscribe as always. I'll talk to you in a while.